Yeah, the NFL on Fox just pulled an all-time power move again. This is now twice in the same season that they've cut away from America's Game of the Week before the end of the third quarter to cut to a different game, and it couldn't have happened to two nicer teams, being the Minnesota Vikings when they lost to the Cowboys, and now today the Buccaneers just getting absolutely babied by the Niners.
The Niners, which are the best team in the NFC, right?
Yeah, easily now with a third-string quarterback
Oh my
doing that.
God! You're saying they're better than the Eagles? Are we starting off the episode this spicy?
Would. They're scarier than the Eagles. The Eagles are probably more well-rounded, but the Niners are scarier. And maybe that's because they've done things to me personally over the last decade, but I still think they're a scarier team because, like, they have a team that can travel and, like, they have a good run game and a good defense. Two things that travel well in the NFL. And obviously, with Brock Purdy, they're going to be running the ball a lot. So
we're recording at 5:51 on Sunday. So right now, the 49ers up 35-0 on the Buccaneers. I just mentioned to you that Russell Gage just caught this random fluke touchdown, but his knee is down at the 1-yard line before he rolls into the end zone, so they're going to call this back. So at this point, the Buccaneers are still down 35-0 at San Francisco, which is quote-unquote the game of the week, quote-unquote, which I know that you just love. Unfortunately, we can't even poke fun at Joe Buck anymore. But that's our game of the week on the NFC side, which is laughable. But welcome back. I missed you last week, but how you doing?
good. It's a week of stress-free football watching for both of us, which I enjoy. I was telling Michelle when we were eating dinner, which we had Parker John's wings tonight.
Of course you did.
We were out of town and we had to do some grocery shopping, and we were like, you know what? We usually eat dinner at home on Sunday, but let's pick up some wings. But we were just talking over dinner. I said, the one plus side to the Packers most likely missing the playoffs this year is there won't be like a big letdown at any point in January. It'll be nice.
Garlic parm?
No. Spicy garlic, Jack Daniel's barbecue, and sweet chili.
Interesting. I mean,
I
as we
think
talked
B-Dubs
about,
has the goat of garlic parm. Sorry.
yeah, for sure. As we've talked about, maybe once a week, as always. I'm looking forward to Road America. But because we can get, not only can I hang out with you for 4 days straight, but we can also get Parker John wings there. Would you say they're as good at the track, or would you say they're better at the restaurant? I'm sure they're better at the restaurant, right?
Probably. To be honest, I've only had one wing at the track, and that was when you and host Mike and I did the food review.
It was good.
So, yeah, I don't know. We took
I'm
them
sure
home,
what's
and
his
even
face
eating
was
them
there
at
in the
home isn't
background.
the same.
Wasn't what's his face in the background there? Phil.
Probably. Phil's everywhere. You just turn a corner and there's Phil.
You just turn a corner. It's
Phil
like,
and
oh hey
Mohawk
Phil, how's
guy.
it going? Yeah.
Well,
Well,
a stroller, drinking a Busch Light.
yeah. I think the one question I had to absolutely ask you on this episode before we started to cover other stuff is I wanted to get both of our opinions, but starting with you, this new transfer portal craze in college football. It seems like, so if you're a player who commits to a team and you're in your first or second year, and there's obviously exceptions. There's fourth and fifth year players that also transfer, but if you're in your first or second year and you get to a program that you committed to and you don't make an impact right away, you're immediately into the transfer portal. Like that seems to be the way to do it nowadays. What is your opinion about that?
From the chaos side of things, I enjoy it because it just gives us something else to follow along and talk about. It's almost like free agency for college football now. And I think it's really interesting because coaches are not only now recruiting high school kids, but there's also a level of recruitment for current college students, which is kind of nuts. This is going to sound like old man, get off my lawn. But I think from the standpoint of like what is that teaching college kids, I don't know if I necessarily love that like the going gets tough for a few months, and then you can just like transfer portal your way out of it, because that's just not how it works in the real world. So from that standpoint, it seems kind of, I don't want to say the easy way out, because it's clearly worked out really well for some people. And I guess if you have dreams of making it to the NFL, you're going to do it by any means necessary. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think it almost diminishes recruiting to an extent. So what I mean by that is if if you're Alabama, or let's say like Texas is a good example. If you have the ability as Texas to get Arch Manning, like of course you would get him in your doors if you could. But if you're a program like LSU, Texas, Alabama, and you can wait a year or two to get a guy from Appalachian State or Coastal Carolina who gets 15 sacks in a year. Like maybe this guy was under recruited in high school, but he emerges onto a scene in a prominent college football conference and balls out. If you can recruit that guy to your school and give him the NIL money, like shit, why not? Why wouldn't you do that, right? It almost diminishes like high school recruiting to an extent.
Yeah, and I kind of the hypothetical you threw out I like even more, because it's someone that kind of earned their way into a better situation
Well,
from a smaller school.
that
So from that standpoint, I think it's cool, because it
yeah, that's just it. Like
allows guys
how many
to
times
climb the
how many
ladder.
times has a player been recruited to like a Power Five school or something where they were a sophomore in high school and they got a scholarship offer right away and just accepted, and then they get to college and they're complete bust because they've just kind of rode on their own coattails for a couple of years. Like, oh, I don't have to try hard because I'm already accepted to a college. And you got the guy who was under recruited out of Vermont, and then they suddenly just burst on the scene, and all of a sudden it's like every school wants them. It's almost like a different sort of recruiting to an extent, and it as an LSU fan, I feel fortunate to be in that situation because obviously certain players are going to gravitate towards our schools, but like I feel like for the lower schools it kind of sucks because you do your job, you do your homework, you recruit the guy who's a 3-star out of Vermont, and let's say they get 85 catches for 7 touchdowns or whatever, and all of a sudden Bama's knocking at their door. Like, do you think they're going to stick at Coastal Carolina, or do you think they're going to go to Alabama? Like, of course they're going to go to Alabama. Why wouldn't they go to Alabama?
Well, I think what'll be interesting too is when you get, I'll use Wisconsin for an example. Just hired Luke Fickell. Are you going to start to see players from these smaller schools that when their coach who recruited them gets plucked and gets a quote-unquote better job at a bigger school, are some of them going to try to transfer portal their way to that school with that coach? I'll be curious to see if that starts to happen too.
Did I ask you about Wisconsin's recruiting tactics at any point?
No. About what Fickle said, or about what they've traditionally done?
Do you think it's okay for a school to recruit based on GPA in today's modern era?
Do I think it's okay, or do I think it's successful? I don't think it's successful. I think it's okay. School can do whatever they want, but
right. But is that what you would want your school to do?
If I'm looking purely at success on the football field, no. But without naming names, I also know some folks that have gone to play Division I football that didn't have the best grades, that went to schools that require certain GPAs, and they were allowed to retake the ACT on a number of occasions to get a specific score, a score that would not have gotten them into that school otherwise.
Tyreek Hill listens to these episodes,
Let's just say I know a certain now running back in the NFL that may or may not have gotten like a 17 on their ACT to go to Madison. And when I got a 26, that was considered not high enough for Madison.
Well, what was Madison's loss was North Dakota's gain.
Well, I didn't even apply there.
Oh, well, but it's still their loss.
Hey, Panthers up 10.
In heaven there is no beer, no beer. Sorry. I started singing that the other night, and Or actually, we went to the World Cup game for the United States versus Netherlands, and we went to a bar at 8 a.m. on last Saturday. It's a good time. And I started drinking that. I started singing that song in the middle of after our goal, and Sammy told me to stop. Uh, I said it's a polka song that the University of North Dakota sings after every goal. I feel like it's tradition almost.
It is.
But
Really quick before we get away from the recruiting thing, I also just have to say GPA I don't think is the only limiting factor to getting someone to come to Madison, Wisconsin. Someone that's from
hang on a
Florida.
second. What other things would preclude somebody from coming to the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin?
Well, let's see here. Is the fact that you get a couple feet of snow each year, and if you're from Florida, you don't want to come live with that, or the palm trees and the beaches, or the lack thereof in Madison. I think Deion Sanders even has said it on a few occasions. Like Wisconsin tried to recruit him, and he was like, "There's no way in hell I am going to Wisconsin."
Despite my cynicism, it is a good school and they have a great environment there. Like, yes, it's not warm 365 days a year, and yes, it's not. There's no beaches in Madison, but it's still. Oh my God, Mahomes just threw in his third interception of the game. Yes, it's not kittens and rainbows in Madison, but it's still like it's not a bad school to go to. It's not like you're going to freaking Champaign
And
or the U of M. As a person that has been to the U of M campus many times, and as someone who just went there Thursday night to sub for a beer league soccer league, I hate the U of M campus. It is the biggest joke of a campus there is. Like, there's some nice buildings on the campus, but it's not a campus. It's a couple buildings within a city,
I'm
right?
glad you
So,
said that because I've always felt the same way. I've only visited
oh,
a
it's
few times, but
terrible. It is awful. I mean, I can't say to have been to many college campuses in my life. I go to Iowa State. I'm like, oh, this seems not so bad. I've been to North Dakota. I'm like, oh, this looks like like would I want to go to college in Grand Forks? Like, sure, but would I ever want to go back to Grand Forks? Probably not. It's like it's pretty good for like a college environment. Duluth, it's not terrible. Mankato, I thought Mankato had a pretty good setup. Wisconsin's not bad. U of M, oh my God, U of M sucks. U of M is just a bunch of buildings within a downtown city. It is terrible. I would never want to live there. I would never want to go to college there. It's terrible. What's your experience with the U of M?
I had some high school friends that went there, and then some of Michelle's cousins went there. So I've visited a few times,
I hate it. It's
and
terrible.
it always felt disjointed to me.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, and it's the same thing when I was watching Army Navy yesterday, which we're a big Navy family with family connections between my brother and my grandparents and whatnot that we always root for Navy. But it's just watching the Army Navy game, it made me think to the extent that it's been explained to me, my family members who have been in the Navy, is that when a naval football player, oh, jeez, Broncos just gave it right back to the Chiefs on a.
Good. Need that for the free play Friday. I picked the Chiefs to cover again, and they can't let me
Well,
down 2
Rippon
weeks in a
got
row.
hit as he threw, and he just ducked it 50 yards into the air. But there is a flag. Hang on, we're waiting for the flag here. So Rippon takes the ball back, scans, nobody's open, scrambles right, hit as he throws, and it just ducks into the air. So his throw was impacted by it being hit as he threw. It was an easy interception for the Chiefs, but they're holding for a flag, and the refs still haven't announced what the flag is yet. If the Chiefs get this back, this might be game over. And Rippon's on the bench, so the thing said personal foul against Frank Clark. Maybe it was after the whistle. But they cut away from the game. And did Geno Smith just throw his third interception of the game?
Yeah, he did.
J.C. Horn is a man. That dude's a fucking
Hey,
beast. I
tell you
said
what,
out of the
this
draft
is
that he was not going to be very good, and here he is.
tell you what, this is
This is a freaking. He
this is
jumped
not
that so good. Oh my god.
this is not helping Pete Carroll's Coach of the Year status any longer. Really, his last
You know
few
what's
weeks
not
have
helping is the fact that you're 3 for 3 in our 50-50 game so far this week.
I know, dude. I'm psyched about that.
I hate that. How did you get the you? Oh, his foot was on the line. That's coming back. How did you pick the Lions? You've never picked against the Vikings.
Did you see my free play Friday pick as well? I also picked the Lions to cover. I mean, granted, it was only like a 2-point line, so if they were
Did
going
you
to win,
pick the
they
Texans
were
to cover this week?
I was this close to doing it, but instead I was an idiot and I picked the Giants to cover because I thought at home divisional game in December, those are always close. But no, I was very close to picking the Texans just because, what was it, 17.5? That's a lot of points.
Yeah, I need to retrack. What were we talking about before ripping through the ball in the air? I was about to. Oh, Army Navy. Okay, so it has been explained to me that when a naval football player commits to Navy, and I could be 100% wrong on this, so don't pin this on me. But when a naval football player,
I can correct you.
well, so when a naval football player commits to the naval football program and the Naval Academy, they go to this like almost secondary school where they are playing football also while sort of training for the Navy, but they're not going through the same naval training that everybody else is going through. And so when you're on the football team and you're representing the Naval Academy, you still haven't gone through, like if you're a freshman, you still haven't gone through like plebes, like all the, whatever, every other plebe has gone through that year.
I don't think that's 100% true.
Maybe they went through plebe summer, but they still haven't gone through like every plebe thing.
So what you're referring to is the Naval Academy Prep School, NAPS. And
Probably.
It's for athletes and non-athletes.
So like NAFs.
And what's up?
Non-athletic Fs.
Yeah. But it's used very similar to like redshirting in other colleges. So rather than redshirt, because I don't think that's really an option at the academies, at least it wasn't. Again, my understanding was that's how it was used. And also I think maybe even from an academic standpoint. So it's a prep school for the academy, but once they're on the Navy football team, like the Naval Academy football team, I don't think there's anything different about their training and academic life at that point, because everyone at the Naval Academy is required to play a sport. So every single person that goes there has to be on one of their athletic teams. That's correct. One of the requirements.
Because, yeah, my brother graduated from the Naval Academy. Proud of him. And, yeah, it's a different ball game when you come to the military academies, when you're talking about college football, right? And so
disrespectful that they do the college football championship picks before the Army Navy game. Come on, show some.
I mean, but this isn't the 1960s where the Naval Academy is going to have a Heisman Trophy candidate and maybe a shot at a legitimate bowl game.
I know,
but
none of them are going to go. None of them. Well, no, hold on, that's a lie. Navy went like 10-2 a couple years ago, and they went to a pretty decent bowl game.
No, they didn't. They always get if they're not New Year's 6, it's always the Armed Forces Bowl or whatever. But like Ken Niumatalolo was sacked, as the British would say. He was sacked today. He's fired, which I think is long overdue. Because one of my things is the Army Navy game that I hate. I love the Army-Navy game. I love the tradition. I love the rivalry. I think it's a historic rivalry that needs to be upkept. And I appreciate that CBS has broadcasted the game for as long as I can remember. But when I watch a team that needs 50 yards with 45 seconds to go in the game when they're tied, when I see them run the ball up the middle, I lose my mind. There's it that is not the way you play football in today's day and age. I understand that you have recruiting limitations and that you cannot have 6'4" get up and go receivers on the outside that can just go get the ball. But at the same time, you have to at least try. You have to at least try to get into field goal range. You can't just run the ball up the middle and hope for the best. The triple option offense needs to be expelled from college football within the next 5 to 10 years. And then is their first or second play in overtime was a trick play, throw the ball, and lo and behold, the guy was wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. It's like, wow, that's incredible what happens when you throw the ball. So I love the Army-Navy game. I think it's super sentimental to me and to our whole family. But it is a little offensive for me to watch that game now and not just shake my head the entire game as to how bad both of those programs are on the offensive side of the football. And you were saying that didn't you run a triple option offense in when you were in high school?
No, we did not. We ran, I don't want to call it like pro style, but it was two backs under center, some shotgun, mostly two receiver sets.
You ran shotgun in high school?
Yeah.
But Navy football can't run shotgun and it's another thing. It's like, they're playing. It was one thing when they were independent school, but it's another thing now that they're playing Houston and UCF and Tulsa in their own conference. Like they jumped from independence to whatever they are now, AAC or whatever. It's like you cannot compete with these schools that you are now. They're legitimate schools in your conference now, running a triple option offense. Like you just can't. There's no way. So I'm glad. I appreciate what Coach Ken did for all the years for Navy football. He's up there for all-time college coaching wins with 119 or so. But like push comes to shove, there needs to be a drastic change. And that's one of the things I was arguing with I was telling my brothers yesterday is that why is it, which comes back to when we were talking about, it's like a secondary school when a player commits to Navy football, is can't they make the Navy football people separate from the Navy to a certain degree?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's the uniqueness about the service academies. Like, I'm going to sound like old man to get off my lawn here, but let's be honest. The amount of guys that go play at those schools, they're not going to the NFL. They have their commitment
hang on a second.
Graduation anyways.
Hang on a second.
And I know they'll make some.
I've been looking at mock drafts. There's a guy from Army that's projected in the first round this year.
Offensive lineman?
No, defensive end. I think his name is Andre Carter or something.
Where I was going with it is, I know it's not flashy, I know it's not fun, but I love it when it's cold. You get some wet, rainy, sleety, snowy games, and I love watching the triple option, even if it's not practical or
get
flashy.
Lost.
Again, it's a sentimental thing. It's cool. It's like, I don't want to say football of yesteryear, but it sort of is. And
it is. It is.
And it's like man on man, hat on a hat. Like, you just got to outman a guy, which I think is awesome.
So, like, triple option is, like, super boring for 19 out of the 20 plays. But then you get that one play that is super cool, like Navy's 65-yard touchdown yesterday. I'm like, wow, it actually worked. And it's just like, oh, my God. And it's another thing when you're playing Army when they're at practice where they're running up against a triple option offense practicing, it's like, of course they know what to do when they get against you. But it's like, when they get next to like Houston, who's got 5 receivers spread, it's like, I don't know if Army or Navy know what to do when they're going against that. But looks like Pacheco just won the game for the Chiefs. I think Mahomes has never lost to the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, did you? If we can shift away from the Army Navy for a second.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize my camera got knocked down when my dog was licking my face.
Yeah, well. So
and the last thing I'll say on that though is running game's coming back to the NFL. It's like the most rushing yards per play, I think.
Do you want to tell your head coach about that or?
Oh, I'd love to. Dude, I saw the craziest stat the other day. I gotta pull it up. Aaron Jones had something like this stat's gonna blow your mind. All right, where's it at? Okay, from 2019 to 2021, Aaron Jones scored on 16 of 28 carries inside the 5-yard line. So he basically had a greater than 50% chance of scoring a touchdown if you gave him the ball inside the 5-yard line. In 2022, he has 1 carry inside the 5-yard line for a total of -1 yards. All I can do is flash back to the Lions game when we got stopped on the goal line, 2 different series. I can't believe we didn't hand it to Aaron Jones more than half those plays. Anyways,
there are certain people in my life who know that I can be kind of a hothead at times, that say incendiary things around me sometimes. And when they say something, I just say, I'm not going to touch that one. And when you say that, where it's like, Aaron Jones has got 1 carry within the 5-yard line, so I'm like, no, I'm not going to touch that one. I'm just going to politely pass and not say anything. But, there's a fight after the Chiefs game.
What was the final?
34-28. Did that cover whatever your...
No, damn it.
Was it, what was the spread?
9.
Ugh, F. I mean, who would have taken it? Would you have taken the freaking... The money line was on the underdogs of the Vikings today. And lo and behold, the Vikings lost.
Can we talk about that game?
The second best team in the NFC just lost.
They're 10-3 and they have a -1 point differential.
Well, to be fair, they did lose by 37 or whatever to the Cowboys.
I don't care. You're telling me in their 10 wins. So I'm gonna pull you. Not going there. Not touching that one.
Are you scared? If you were, I know the Packers aren't making the playoffs, but if you were a team that makes,
they were on the in the hunt graphic. Okay, all they need.
Okay, whatever. If you're a team that encounters the Vikings in the playoffs, are you scared of them?
No, they're the least scared. They are the first team I would want to play in the playoffs.
Not like the Seahawks or the Buccaneers or whoever.
No. The only team that would probably scare me less would be the Giants.
And I didn't even know. I was talking to... So we had Garrett and Aiden over today. I don't even know if I would be scared of the Giants. Because I don't even think... I mean, you got the Lions. What did the Lions won? Like 5 of their last 6?
Yeah.
And you got the Commanders.
Loss was against Buffalo by 3.
And the Commanders are streaking right now. Like, I don't even know if the Giants are going to make the playoffs. Because, I mean, the Seahawks are... we got the game on right now. The Seahawks are going to lose today.
Yeah.
So the Seahawks are going to be 7-6 here in 2 minutes. And, the Commanders want to... I think the Commanders want to bye today. Yeah, the Commanders want to bye today. So, I mean, that last playoff spot might be a little bit of a crapshoot between... And now if the Commanders want to bye, the Seahawks lose, and the Lions win, the Lions are kind of, sort of, definitely within a shout of that last playoff spot, whether we like it or not.
Trying to see the rest of the Lions schedule.
Because I think they're 6-7 now, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, they're 6-7 now.
Correct. Their next game is.
And I looked at their schedule. They can win 3. They got the Jets, the Vikings, the Packers, and the Panthers. They can win 3 of those last 4.
And they have the. They have the Bears. I get Bears are their last home game though, so they got to go on the road 3 times.
Yeah, but like as if the Bears aren't tanking that game.
I don't believe in tanking.
Okay, all right, Packers fan. You don't know how reality works, so let's just
No. No. There is no way a guy playing for a contract is going to willfully tank. You might get play calling that isn't as quote-unquote friendly, but paid professionals are not going to tank for a draft pick.
Whoa, hang on a second. You're telling me that after we complete a 50-yard pass to N'Keal Henry that we're just going to run the ball 3 times and then get our field goal blocked?
Also, there's something about like winning a couple of games like that changes your mindset and it changes how you feel. If you just lose, loser mentality. So, don't get me started on tanking.
Well, you say that, but the Texans took it to the Cowboys today. And, I mean, they're in Bryce Young mode.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Like, well, they almost won.
Precisely. These are paid professionals that are trying to make a living. And they're trying to get their next contract.
I think the Bears are in a super unique position because a majority of their players are on a 1-year deal. And they're all basically in tryout mode, and yet we still suck. So I don't know if their I need to make a living contract is working out as optimistically as you're stating it as.
Or you just have shit talent. How about that?
Or we could be 80 million payroll less than the Packers this year. Did you think about that?
What does that
I'm so glad that you beat the Bears by 9 points in Chicago. I think that was a banner win for the Packers. I'm really proud of you guys.
You have so much salt oozing from you. It's pretty funny.
What? You just said that our guys weren't trying. We have such a less payroll than the Packers right now. I want you to keep the same energy next year.
I said you have a lack of talent. I didn't say you weren't trying.
We do, but we also have less money to spend on talent.
Well, how does this even tie back to tanking?
No,
how did we get here?
I want Will Anderson with the 2nd pick. Give me him right now. I don't want to win a single game for the rest of the year. I would love Will Anderson, who just won 2 major college awards, to just fall on our lap right this second. That guy's the second coming of Nick Bosa right now.
Loser talk.
Loser talk. We have 2 winning seasons in the last 10 years. What else do I have but loser talk?
It would be exhausting to be in that mindset. And I know
it's not a mindset. It's a reality.
Your mindset is that you want your team to lose. Like that. Again,
Do you not want the 2nd pick in the draft? Would you not want that if you could have? If it was at your fingertips, would you not? Would you like win the rest of this season just to get the 14th pick in the draft?
Okay, if the Bears went out, they're not going to have the 14th pick. You're still going to have a top 10 pick. I covered this in an earlier episode that I think we overvalue draft picks because it's an unknown commodity. I think draft picks are overvalued personally.
I agree.
It's also coming from a guy who's a fan of a team that drafts terribly in the first round. So
well, I agree to a certain extent. However, if we get the 2nd pick in the draft, Will Anderson will be there. Because the Texans will take Bryce Young with the 1st pick, and then the Bears will take Will Anderson with the 2nd pick. And if I could get Will Anderson on my team, I would take him. I would want Will Anderson on my team. So call me a loser for wanting Will Anderson on my team. I am a loser.
Doesn't
If
it?
it's
Hold
like
on.
we had this
Doesn't
like gray area with what we wanted with our second pick of the draft, yeah, I could see it be like, oh, well, I don't know who we would.
Doesn't it concern you a little bit though that like Justin Fields has these really great flashes, yet he continues to throw fourth quarter interceptions and can't put teams away?
Isn't it concerning you that your $22 million a year cornerback lets up big interception or big receptions in the middle of the field in the middle of the game?
I'm more worried about our defensive coordinator.
But not Jair. You're not worried about your $22 million a year cornerback that continues to give up big plays?
Nah.
Okay.
Continues.
No,
to give
I'm
big
not worried
plays.
about my quarterback throwing
Continues to
interceptions
give up
in
big
the
plays. Get the out of here.
I'm not
Continues
worried
to give
about
up
my
big
I'm not
plays.
worried about my quarterback throwing fourth quarter interceptions. I'm not. I he's got no so on that route that you're explaining, I would say 70-30. Jair made a 70% good play, and I say Equanimous did not come back on the route as a 30%. He needs to do better.
It's not. It wasn't just this Sunday. It's happened the last month.
Also, when you don't have good receivers to throw to, those kind of things are going to happen. I'm sorry. I love Justin Fields, but like the guy has no one to throw to.
Can you say that about the Packers receiving core?
I mean, you got a guy who's got, 7-8 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. You got Lazard, who's no slouch. You got Third and Cobb, who's old reliable. Tunyon's not a bad tight end. You got I would say, probably the best receiving running back in the NFL out of the backfield. No, I would not say that about the Packers. I'm going to be honest. I would not say that about the Packers at all.
Okay.
I just wouldn't. I mean, he doesn't have Devontae Adams, obviously, but I wouldn't. No, I would not say the Packers have the worst receiving core.
I'm not saying you have said it, but people have said it. So I was just
checking your I would never say that. I mean, I would say never. I think the Packers have a much better situation than the Bears have right now.
I would agree. Because who's your number
so
one
when Justin Fields throws a fourth corner interception to Jair, the first reaction is, damn it. The second reaction is, hey, Will Anderson.
I love this so
and
much.
You can say loser's mentality, but it's when you have what do we have? 3 wins. When you have 3 wins, you have to look at the future. What are we going to do? Win a meaningless game and not make the playoffs? Or lose a meaningless game and not make the playoffs? It doesn't matter. It's not like we're going to make the playoffs anyways, so what does it matter at this point?
Hey, I just said I think tanking is not real, and it doesn't happen from the player standpoint. That was all I was saying.
You can understand as fans. You can understand from a fan's point of view where tanking is relevant. You haven't tanked. You guys haven't tanked in like 25 years.
Exactly.
So you don't know what tanking's like. You haven't had to tank in your whole lifetime.
We've had losing seasons, and never once in those losing seasons have I thought to myself, man, I hope we lose more so we get a better draft pick.
In your lifetime, what was your and I'm not counting like your heartbreaking losses in playoffs or whatever. What was your least favorite season? Not like 2014 where it's like, oh shit, we had the best team ever and we lost.
No, probably. So you're not counting playoff losses, or?
Yeah, it's not like you went 13-3 and then like, oh shit, we should have won the Super Bowl and lost. Like, what's your least favorite season, not counting the playoffs?
I would say it's a toss-up between McCarthy's final season when he got fired, the year we went 4-12 when Mike Sherman got fired, or
what year was that?
05, 06. 06? No, 05. Because McCarthy's first year, I think, was 06. No, what year was that?
In his opening game, he lost because Devin Hester returned a punt.
Yeah, 2005.
Wait, you had a coach
Packers.
between Holmgren and McCarthy?
Yeah, we had two coaches. We had Ray Rhodes and Mike Sherman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I would say probably that 4-12 season, the McCarthy firing season, or the year 2015 was also not an enjoyable year. It was fun because that was the year we got like the Hail Mary to Richard Rodgers in Detroit. So there was like cool moments, but that year was just not fun because the offense was disjointed the entire season. We were also without Jordy, so that was part of the reason.
Blow his knee or what?
Yeah, in preseason.
I thought you were about to say that one of your two least enjoyable seasons as a fan was when you were like 10. I was like, wow, what a bummer that the one of your two seasons, like that's like every year for Chicago. If it's not 2018 or 2010, that's every year as a Bears fan.
No, those were, dude, before the internet, being a fan was way more fun. The internet has ruined fandom.
Elaborate.
Because everything is either the sky is falling or you're on top of the world. Everything's hot takes, we never live in the moment anymore. Never, ever, ever. We're always talking about next year's draft picks or upcoming contracts or...
Who does that?
You're telling me.
That was me.
Or like talking about, I don't know. The internet just, I don't know. It's not as fun. I miss the days of watching football all day and then watching like NFL primetime on ESPN to get caught up. Those were the days. Those are the good old days.
You're going to struggle when they renegotiate this TV contract.
And everything's on at one time.
Yeah, or you're going to have to like pay money to watch the Seahawks-Panthers game. How did the Panthers win that, by the way? I don't understand that.
Steve Wilkes is a good coach.
Is that the hill we're dying on?
It certainly wasn't Sam Darnold. He went like 12 for 24.
Well, should we get to this week?
Yeah, we're already like 40 minutes in. We should be relishing in the fact that the Vikings lost. Instead, we're talking mindlessly about tanking when we should be pointing and laughing at the 10-3 Minnesota Vikings. I don't care that they're going to win the division. I am very, very, very excited to see Vikings fans across Minnesota have their hearts broken in January.
What do you think they do on a plane ride home after a loss? Because they can't have the Kirk Cousins doing the stupid gold chains and whatever swag on a plane ride home. Although he clearly was not the reason they lost today. But
no, he actually had a decent game.
He had a very good game. But yeah, just not their day. I want to backtrack a week since we didn't have you last week. So obviously the Packers won by 9 against the Bears. We've touched on it to an extent. Any final thoughts? I don't have to wear a jersey at Road America. Well, maybe for the first time in 2 years, I have to wear a jersey at Road America. TBD if a jersey's brought to me.
Yeah, we'll see if it makes the packing list or not. Despite this team's ability to disappoint me all season long, it's always fun to beat divisional teams, specifically the Vikings and Bears. I just didn't want to lose to Justin Fields when we still had Aaron Rodgers, because there would have been a lot of pointing and laughing about our $50 million man losing to your savior and future Hall of Famer from Chicago.
Second year, $140 million payroll. Just wait.
Here you go, talking about contracts again.
No, it's not even. It is a black and white issue that we just do not have as much payroll as the Packers. That is not even me looking at the future. That is looking at now. That is looking at the current situation that we are in. We just do not have as much money as the Packers. That is a fact. That is not a looking at contracts. That is a fact.
That's fine.
So I just want you to keep the same energy in the next 3 years. That's all I'm saying.
I will. I will always want my team to win. I don't give a flip about who has more or less money. I don't care if we're in the playoff hunt or not. I like sitting down on Sunday and watching my team win. I'll leave it at that. So, yes, I enjoyed beating the Bears in a meaningless game. I enjoyed getting to listen to happy post-game radio rather than depressing burn-down Lambeau.
Listen to post-game radio?
Well, we were in the car.
Okay.
That's the first time I've listened to post-game radio in a long, long time. So, yes, it was nice. It was nice to get a W.
I'm proud of you guys.
Sue me for being a fan of my team winning.
I'm
God
super proud.
God forbid that I'm a fan and I like to watch my team win.
Great job.
Dear flippin' Lord.
A+. A+ on beating the Chicago Bears. You guys are elite.
I didn't even say that. I said I enjoyed a win.
Elite.
A win is a win.
Best team in football.
Man, you are a sarcastic dickhead today. I don't like you today.
That's okay. You liked me the other days?
That's
exactly.
in the off season.
Once racing comes on, we're good.
Dear God, racing Twitter is also. I can't stand that right now either. This isn't a racing podcast.
Which parts? I need to
it.
talk to you about that. But which parts
All
do you
of
not
it.
stand?
All of it.
There's 2.2 liters instead of 2.4. Oh my God.
What else notable happened today?
Well, I still wanted to get your
Bills.
thoughts on last week.
Oh, I'm happy we won. That's all. Christian Watson.
No,
is fast.
not.
That's cool.
There was
Oh.
more than one game last week.
I didn't
Okay.
see any other games, to be honest.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even.
Well,
My Sunday was a whirlwind, you know that. So
what did you think of the Deshaun Watson revenge game?
didn't see any of it. Didn't even see highlights.
Well, he sucked, but they still won.
Um.
San Francisco beat Miami.
Oh, I did watch. Was it the Monday night game? Is that when Brady had the comeback, or was that Sunday night?
Sure did. Yeah, you texted me because you're like, ugh, I picked the Saints and I thought they were going to pull it out.
Was that Monday? Yeah, I was laying in bed. That was like the only action that I caught was the last couple minutes of that game. Yeah. Baker in his comeback Thursday, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was super cool because, we all thought the Rams were going to win that game.
I don't know your stance on Baker, if you love him or you hate him. I know he's kind of a polarizing.
I like the guy.
Okay, so do I. Just because I love the energy that he has, whether or not
Yeah.
he's always good is besides the point. But that was fun. And that's what I mean. Like, that's, again, the season's lost. But, like, being a Rams fan on Thursday night would have been so much fun. And just, like, a cool moment. Like, I know I've said this before, and, again, it's easy for me to say because I've seen my team win 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. But, like, that's the aspect of being a fan that I feel like the internet sometimes takes away from, because all we care about is Super Bowls and championship rings and trophies, which is the ultimate goal. But it's okay to enjoy a shitty team when they do something cool. Like, people love to shit on other people for rooting for bad teams when bad things happen. And I know I do it to the Bears and Vikings because they're our rivals. But, like, when you guys beat the Patriots on that, was that a Sunday night or Monday night game? Like, that is cool. Like, that would have been a fun night to be a Bears fan because you just got to see, like, what the future of your franchise is going to look like in prime time. Like, that's awesome. Like, I think that kind of stuff is cool, whether or not your team's good or bad.
Yeah, we recorded that episode, and that's our last one of the season.
And that's why I'm not a fan of tanking, because then you have moments like that you get to
see. But,
relish
like,
in.
so the Packers game, as an example. The N'Keal Harry catch, the Justin Fields outrunning the Packers defense for a touchdown. Like, those are the moments I hold on to. I don't care if we win or lose in those situations. Like, hey, we had a cool player too.
You would have been able to throw at me, though. Imagine it.
What?
lovely
Oh,
would that have
hey,
been?
Lighting, we won this meaningless game, and now we're picking sixth instead of second. Haha, you
But
suck.
that's what I mean. That's what live in the moment. Enjoy beating your rival. Why is that
I'm gonna
so
enjoy the
bad?
next. I'm gonna enjoy the next 10 years.
Are those guaranteed though? That's the thing. That's what I
They're
don't
not.
understand.
They're not. I'd say if we get the
Exactly.
next couple years right, we can maybe win 66%
If
of the games against the
if
Packers. If
if
if if if.
like just
But that was like the thing back in the day. It's like if Rodgers pans out, then they're gonna win 75% of the games against the Bears. And like shit, here we are now. Rodgers is 23-5 against the Bears. Like you have to take these ifs into consideration every once in a while. They're not 100% certain, but
I understand.
I've been living in ifs my whole life with Rodgers on Sunday, playing my team and beating them every week.
I get it, and I understand you need to plan for the future, and you need to that's what
When
good
we
teams
don't
do.
have a
That's
future,
what
you have
good
to
teams
plan
do.
for it.
And exactly, that's what good franchises do. My point is, I feel like
You can say you as in me.
yes, I feel like you're clinging so hard to the Justin Fields future, which you should be excited for. I think he's going to be good, so I get that. But I still, if I were in your shoes, would have loved to have beaten the Packers. It would have been glorious.
Nothing would
It
make
have
me
been
happier
amazing.
than beating the Packers, but also you can see strategically from a loss why it's also not bad.
I can, but I guess, and again, it goes back to my belief that we overvalue draft picks because we went through that top 5 list a couple of episodes ago from the last few seasons. That I don't think there is a huge difference between picking number 3 and picking number 6. I just don't. And I know you have your guy in Will Anderson. I get that, so it's a little bit different, but it's just you see it every year. You see redrafts come out every single year that if we were to redraft this draft, here's where these guys would go. So that's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying Will Anderson's the best player in the draft, but he's the best player available to us at this specific time.
Exactly. I get that. I totally get that. I totally get that. But again, I've had guys going into drafts that I've looked at before and been like, wow, I really hope we get that guy because I think he'll be available when we pick. Sometimes we've picked that guy, sometimes we haven't. Sometimes they don't make it to us. Sometimes we pass him and someone else picks him and he turns out really great for them, like TJ Watt. Man, Kevin.
Why
King,
would you
what a
draft the
great pick.
hometown guy? I don't know why.
But that's all I'm saying. We've now beaten this topic like a dead horse for the last 25 minutes. So I will let it go. I will let it be free. It's the holiday season. I've seen enough busts. I'll say that.
What do you know about busts?
You ever heard of a guy
Tom.
named Tony Mandrich?
Actually, I have not. What?
That's a story, my friend. That
Let's
is
hear
a
it.
story. So Tony Mandrich was a offensive tackle who played college football at Michigan State, and he was drafted by the Packers with the number 2 pick in the first round of the 1989 NFL draft. Guy was supposed to be the best left tackle since sliced bread. However, if you go look at that draft class and the individuals that were also drafted in 1989, you will see names such as Troy Aikman, who did go first overall to the Cowboys. But how about this? Here is who followed Tony Mandrich in the 1989 NFL draft. How about Barry Sanders, running back? Derek Thomas, linebacker. Deion Sanders, cornerback. Is anything about those 3 players that
What a draft
they all
class.
have in common? Anything in common with those 3 players?
They all coached
Oh,
the
yeah.
Colorado Buffaloes.
They're all Hall of Famers.
They're not all they don't coach Colorado.
No, they don't. Let me give you a couple of other names who went in this draft. Wayne Martin, defensive end, Pro Bowler. Steve Atwater, Hall of Famer. Andre Rison, wide receiver, who then eventually came to Green Bay and helped us win a Super Bowl. So Packers went and got their guy, number 2, second pick of the draft. And he was a bust of all busts. Dude was all hopped up on
Have you seen Will Anderson play college
steroids.
football?
Yes, I have. Also
Okay.
saw Tony Mandridge play college football. I
Okay.
think that's a lie.
I know that's a lie, but that's fine.
Anyways, so they knew he was gonna
Will
go
Anderson
top
could have been a
5.
top 5 pick last year, but he wasn't eligible.
Okay. I understand you like Will Anderson.
I do.
I understand.
I'm not hiding it.
I'll stop telling my story. I got it. In 10 years from now, when Will Anderson's a Hall of Famer, you can say, David, I told you so.
And when he's out of the league in 3 years, you can tell me I told you so. But you're not allowed to tell me I told you so if he had a devastating injury of some kind. Because
I would never.
That could happen to anybody. So if he just sucks on merit, you can tell me I told you so. But in the meantime, I'm all for tanking, which is something the Packers haven't had to do in 30 years. So because you guys haven't had, when was the last time you guys didn't have a franchise? Who was the quarterback before Favre?
Magic Man Don Majkowski.
And was he any good at football or?
Yeah, he actually wasn't that bad.
He just got replaced by Favre though.
Yeah, it was. He wasn't like the best. He wasn't, the greatest of all time.
And did the Packers trade for Favre from Atlanta, or did
yes,
they just?
They did.
Okay, and what was that trade? Was it a draft pick or was it a player?
It was a draft pick.
I don't know the details off the top of my head.
I should know this.
I'm not just asking rhetorically. A dickhead,
a
dickhead, as you would say.
Yeah, it was a first round pick.
What?
Yeah, that they traded. It was received from the Eagles the year prior, so it wasn't the Packers' first round pick. But yeah, so Ron Wolf, who was the GM at the time, he's really the one that turned the franchise around. He was with the New York Jets in '91 and wanted the Jets to draft Favre, but the Falcons picked him before the Jets. And so when he got to Green Bay, he was still a believer in him, so he traded the first-round pick.
Crazy. Can you believe we're 58 minutes in the episode and we haven't talked about football games yet?
Yeah, we did. We've talked about a few.
Well, we've touched on a couple. But Rams beat the Raiders.
Baker's comeback.
Do you think it? I mean, I was shocked when What's His Nuts came out and did the first series, and all of a sudden it was Baker time the series after. And I texted you or you asked like what happened, and I texted you like, oh, Baker was 4 of 12 for 70 yards at one point, and all of a sudden he's leading them on a game-winning drive, and they won against the Raiders, who blew their fourth 13-plus point lead of the season.
Which is crazy. Did you see the video I made yesterday about Josh McDaniels?
On our TikTok?
Yeah.
I unfortunately did not.
I've
been working a lot this weekend, actually, unfortunately, so I haven't actually had my phone on me a whole lot.
He was wearing a visor that had the NFL 100th anniversary logo on it. Which is from 2019. So
doesn't he pick his own get up before the game though?
Well, it's like, are the Raiders that much of a poverty franchise that they couldn't get Josh McDaniels a visor from the current? Doesn't the NFL and New Era and all these people supply teams with all their gear? Aren't they contractually then obligated to wear the current gear on the sidelines to pump retail sales? Yeah, that one. I don't know.
Raiders are a poverty franchise.
It's because they're still paying
I got a new login
contracts.
notification. Did you log in again?
Yeah, my phone went through a reset, so I had to relog into everything.
I got a login notification. I remember that, but I didn't. I just thought you were just goofing around.
But talking about contracts, this one we can both laugh at. The Raiders are still
What?
trying to
What?
pay off that
Hang on a
John
second. We
Gruden,
can't just
the
draw
John Gruden.
lines in the middle of contract. Like what
It's
contracts can I talk about? What contracts can't I talk about?
the John Gruden $100 million contract. That is it. That is.
No, but didn't they get the back out of that because of like like a morality clause of some kind?
I don't know. Did they? I didn't think they
Probably. I
did.
mean, the guy had leaked emails that he was like looking at nudes of the Commanders cheerleaders or something, or he was saying racist shit or I don't something.
The former Raiders coach is still owed nearly $40 million from when he resigned.
Oh, he resigned.
Yeah.
That's see, that's
the
how you get
key.
your buyout right there. But that was a whole part of the Dan Snyder leaks,
Yeah,
which
there
is
was
funny because there was more congressional hearings about that this week. Where, what do you think of this? When the GM at the time, Allen, went to Dan Snyder and said, like, we need to pay Trent Williams, and Trent Williams said, don't pay him a dime. Why would you not pay one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL the money he thinks he owes just for him to hit free agency and go to the 49ers? And now he's, lo and behold, still one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that, but
I didn't.
that's incredible.
Sorry.
He said in a documented message, do not pay him a dime. As he was holding out. And then now he's still one of the best offensive linemen in football, which is just insane to me that you let Trent Williams at your door. Like, franchise tag him, pay him what he wants, don't matter. You keep that guy in your building. Like, if you hit a home run on a draft pick like that, you keep him in your building. So,
Hey, I just thought of something. After this, can you put a poll up on Twitter, specifically at asking Bears fans a hypothetical about would they have taken a win over the Packers if it cost them Will Anderson? I just want to see. Truly out of curiosity. I'm not trying to prove a point. Sorry, I just was thinking about that more. I'm not trying to like rehash that. I just would be genuinely interested because I would be interested to know if people would feel the same as me on the Packers side of things, or if I'm an outlier. That's all.
I can try. Did you get
Curiosity killed the cat.
There's a Call of Duty ad on the TV. Did you get Call of Duty?
Dude, I haven't touched a video game controller since the last F1 race I did with you.
So you're waiting for the IndyCar game.
Probably. I don't know. I got to get a new. I don't know.
I can get my Xbox back when I come over next.
This is way off topic. I have a list of things I want to accomplish.
Is
And
video gaming one of them?
Well, I just know video games will not help me.
It's not cracking that list.
It will take the limited free time I currently have to do these other things away.
Do you have a 30 before 30?
I don't, but I only have 1 year left to hit that. So, if I
That's it.
maybe
I have
should
1
come
year
up
left. I have 11 months to hit that, and I do not have. I think my 30 before 30 is stay alive.
That's a good one. Okay, back to sports ball. What else do we miss this week?
Well, so this week, let's see. Well, the 49ers is now final. They beat the Buccaneers by 28. Shock. Hi, Miller. And let's see. The Cowboys beat the Texans by 4, barely. I don't know how that happened. I mean, literally the Cowboys had to score within the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter to take the lead.
Yeah, that was kind of shocking.
That was
I
shocking.
kind of thought the Texans would cover, but I didn't think it'd be that bad.
No. I mean, no. I absolutely. I mean, when you beat the Colts, what was it, like 50-something to 17 or whatever? It's like you're like, oh, there's no way. So that was shocking. I think Joe Burrow got his first career win against the Browns today. So that was kind of cool.
Sure did.
Deshaun Watson didn't look very good again for the second week in a row, so there's still some question.
That's sad.
I treated this like his second week of the season. You know how Aaron
Poor guy.
Rodgers tended to just struggle like the first 3-4 weeks of the season, and just like kicked it into gear. I mean, the guy
Yeah.
hasn't played in 2 years, so we have to kind of sort of give him a little bit of leeway before we
Mm.
cast him off to sea. But
I'd,
even if they
I'd
cast him
cast
off
him
to sea,
now if I could.
they're stuck with him. So
I will never ever root for Deshaun Watson ever. I feel bad for Cleveland Browns fans.
I won't
Some
either,
of
but
them.
they're still stuck with him. Whether we
They
like it or
are.
not, they're still stuck with him.
They are.
So still more to be seen on that. As we documented, the Lions beat the Vikings by 11, despite Kirk Cousins throwing for 425 yards.
Um, yeah. Jared Goff also looked pretty dang good.
He's their quarterback of the future, apparently. If you ask Dan Campbell, that's
Hey, I will say this, in all seriousness. So this kind of goes against what I was saying before. But
oh,
if I were a Lions or a Bears fan right now, well, I would feel better about being a Bears fan for the next 2 or 3 years than I would being a Lions fan.
I mean, it was a great week for a Bears fan because the Rams won and the Lions won.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that,
I think the Lions were enough wins ahead already that they probably weren't a threat.
yeah, but the
To
Rams won, which
that's
depreciated
yeah.
the value of that pick that the Lions owned. So,
Got it. Yes.
so love
Um,
that. I think it might be like a sixth or well, we'll see what it shakes out after the week's over, but it might be like a sixth or seventh pick now instead of a third. So
yeah.
love that. It's also
At
probably
least the
good news for the Packers
What's that?
if the Lions don't have as good as picks in the draft.
Yeah, I guess for any time in the division, anyone in the division.
Yeah, and the Vikings lost, which is always a win. So
Yeah.
the Jaguars smoked the Titans, the division leading Titans. I wanted to get your thought on this. So the Titans are leading the division right now. They've had a pretty good run of years as of late, as in they were the AFC champions last year as far as the regular season is concerned. And they're currently leading their division. And oh yeah, in the middle of the week they fired their GM.
Yeah, that was bizarre. That was super bizarre. I don't know if it's because AJ Brown just shit down their throat and it was like, you did this to us.
I think it was
Or
that. I honestly do.
Titans are a weird team. Never really know what to make of the Titans. Like, I think Mike Vrabel's an awesome coach. Derrick Henry, obviously very, very good. Other than that, I mean, their defense has been pretty decent the last few years. But just a weird team in a weird division, so it makes sense.
I mean, if you put the other team's number one corner on Traylon Burks, he'll probably do pretty good.
So this is a random thought. This is out of left field. So when you think of divisions in the NFL, I feel like all of them have a staple franchise besides the AFC South because they have three of the newest teams in the NFL.
And the NFC South.
I would say just because they've won a few Super Bowls, the Buccaneers are the Colts, I guess, are a staple team because of the Peyton Manning years.
Well, when you say won a few Super Bowls, they're like 20 years apart.
That's true. Which it kind of makes it even more valid, though, because they've been successful across multiple eras.
When you talk about, it's like when you talk about college football, yes, there's outliers, but where do the most passionate college football fans live? You're talking
down south.
You're talking Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Arkansas, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and when you're talking about the least passionate fan bases in NFL, you're talking LA outlier. But then you're talking Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston, Tampa Bay, like they don't give a rat's ass. New Orleans. I mean, I'm sorry. I would take New Orleans out of that. But talk Atlanta's a fair weather town. Like if the Falcons suck, they're not going to care, and if the Falcons are good, they're all going to pretend they've been fans for the Falcons for years.
No, that's good. That's a good point. I can see that. but I just can't think of another division that I care less about than the AFC South.
I mean, to me, it's the AFC South and the NFC South. Like both the Southern divisions, like are
I think
completely irrelevant.
I feel differently just because Drew Brees was always exciting. The Falcons have had their years. You had Cam Newton on the Panthers. I just think there was enough going on all kind of at the same time because you had Drew Brees, Cam Newton, and Matt Ryan all playing in the same division at one point. So they at least had that going for them. So I'd say
Yeah,
the AFC South takes the cake for me.
I would agree, but
And then I would argue, other than our division, the NFC East is probably the next most passionate group, I would say. And that's strictly because of the Eagles.
I think the NFC East is probably the most charged against each other.
Yeah,
Because,
for
the
sure. For
Commanders have a
sure.
huge market. The Cowboys have a huge market. The Eagles have a huge market. And then the Giants are a New York team. So you're talking about three huge markets. I mean, I was shocked when I went to visit my aunt in DC. They have I mean, at the time they had two radio stations devoted to talking about, at the time, the Redskins 24/7. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
god, like
that
we
fan
have
base used to be rabid.
we have K-Fan here in Minnesota that spends 3 hours a day on the Vikings, and you guys have two radio stations 24/7 talking about the Commanders or the Redskins or whatever. It's like, what the hell?
You want to know something crazy?
The Packers have no radio stations.
No, there's a radio station in Green Bay that's WNFL.
Is that legal?
Yeah, like it's a sports station, WNFL.
Do you ever call
Anyways, no, no. I
Let's
It's funny.
let's see
It's
what
funny
else
because I'm
happened.
sitting behind a computer and a microphone right now, but a lot of the sports radio talk people also just bother me because they find things to talk about that are irrelevant, but they have to because they have to talk 3 hours a day about a certain topic, which, admittedly, that's a difficult thing to do. Um,
Should we get some opinions out there right now?
about what?
Who's your least favorite Packers media person?
Currently or like historically?
Don't matter.
Currently, let me make sure I say this guy's name right. I used to follow him. I used to love the stuff he put out, and lately he's just been absolutely annoying. You would probably actually get along with him.
What? Why did I just get slandered in this?
Peter Bukowski.
Okay, go on.
He
I know him.
he everything has been his like Rogers slander is like to the moon. Like every single thing. I think he just hates Aaron Rodgers, which that's fine. You can whether it's about personal things, whether he thinks he's a trash quarterback now, but everything is Rodgers slander. And I'm not like a Rodgers apologist, but I'm also not like a huge Rodgers hater, or I'm not a Rodgers hater at all. But I'm also, I wouldn't say an apologist because I think he's got plenty of flaws. But this guy, man, everything is 12's fault. He finds things that aren't even related to Aaron Rodgers, and then he like brings it up. Him and John Kuhn got in like a huge
I remember that.
Twitter argument, which was hilarious. But I will say he puts out some really good film study stuff. But I would say he's right now not my favorite.
Does he have any like? Oh my God, Brock Purdy beat the Buccaneers today. Therefore, the Packers should be starting Jordan Love. Is there any of that today?
Let's see. The NFC mostly stinks, but the Eagles, Cowboys, and 49ers are all awesome. Let's see. Future. I love this one. I actually agree with him on this one. Damn it. He's turned me back into a fan. Future Packers DC Todd Bowles, and it's just a video of Brock Purdy
jeez.
scoring all over the Buccaneers defense.
I would actually hate that because that would be kind of scary.
I would love that because him and Dan Quinn are like two guys that should just never be head coaches again. Just be coordinators. You're really good at it. We talked about this with like Vic Fangio. Like just do that. You're really good at that. You're not good at the head coach thing.
Yeah, that's why
there are 5 teams. Oh wow, this is crazy. There are 5 teams in the NFC with a positive point differential. All 4 AFC East teams have a positive point differential. That's crazy.
That is crazy. You the Patriots?
All of a sudden, this guy's winning me back.
There you go. All it took was one Twitter search, and you're back on board. So when he gets that Rodgers slander going, you got to stay on board then.
I guess I do. Oh, this is news. So Jason Wilde is a radio guy that I actually do really enjoy in Wisconsin. He had a sit-down discussion with Jordan Love last week, and it says Jason Wilde believes Jordan Love will seek a trade this offseason if he's not the starter based on a conversation they had Friday.
He's not going to be the starter.
I know. He goes, we could be barreling towards
unless Rodgers retires, there's no way they're getting rid of him.
Man, that's pretty – I mean, he's under contract, so the Packers could just say no. But
well, yeah, they have all the power.
I mean, I don't really blame him for wanting to go play. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I don't blame him either, but it's like at the same time you have to when you say like I'm going to request a trade, it's like, well, look at the reality of the situation. Unless Rodgers retires, you're going to have to seek a trade. You're not going to beat out a guy who has a $45 million a year cap hit or whatever.
No.
So, one question I want to ask you before we kind of wind down the episode here is you've had this bullish faith about the 49ers. Garoppolo goes down last week with a season-ending injury. Obviously, we know where we are now, which is the 49ers beat the Buccaneers 35-7 today. Are you still this faithful in the Bay with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, as the quarterback, or are you pumping the brakes?
I hate that. By the way, I hate that. I hate that term.
Mr. Irrelevant or faithful in the Bay?
Both. I was referring to Mr. Irrelevant because there's plenty of undrafted free agents that get signed. So I just drop it. That's not against you. That's just everyone in the media uses it. No, I'm not as bullish, and I don't really want to take too much away from today's game because I don't think the Buccaneers defense is as good as we had thought they were. And Christian McCaffrey is obviously an animal. Brandon Ayuk is phenomenal. Again, their defense, the 49ers defense is still scary, scary good. So from that standpoint, I still think they can make a deep run because they have a really good run game. Kyle Shanahan is clearly a great head coach, and their defense is scary good. I think whoever wins on Christmas Eve between the Cowboys and Eagles is probably the favorite in the NFC at this point. But I would still not want to play the 49ers. If I had to pick 49ers or Vikings, if I'm a Eagles or Cowboys fan or fan of whoever, and I get to pick our opponent, I would rather play the Vikings than the 49ers.
100%. I was watching the game today, and it reminded me again why it was so stupid to trade up for Trey Lance. Because, Trey Lance had a very small sample size and has had a very small sample size in his career this year. And, we can't make a meaningful, like, he's the best thing ever or he's average. But then you have Garoppolo go out again this year as he's done in the past couple years and lead his team to greatness. Now you have 262nd pick in the draft. If I don't want to put a label on it, he was the last guy picked in the draft. Go out today and be one of the marquee NFC teams in the last couple years by 28 points. And to me, it again reminds me that if you plug and play a certain quarterback to an extent in this system that Kyle Shanahan runs, it don't matter who it is. It don't matter how much you pay him. You can get a plug and play player in that system and succeed just fine. You do not need to pay a quarterback $20, $30 million a year in that Kyle Shanahan system to succeed. as seen by the $500,000 a year quarterback that they just put in today, that was average at best at Iowa State, just carved that defense.
I mean, look what he did
So
with C.J. Beathard a couple of years ago.
that's what I'm saying. You got C.J. Beathard, you got Big Dick Nick and Nick Mullins, you got Purdy, Lance, Garoppolo, and then Garoppolo's sample size from New England was infinitely small, right? He
Hey,
had a 4-game
did you,
suspension for Brady and a couple one-offs.
and
The
he
guy
didn't
had
play all 4 of those games.
well, he had a
Jacoby Brissett
minimal
played 2 of
sample
those.
size coming from New England. Gets a ridiculous contract coming to San Francisco, and he leads this team to greatness and everything. Everybody thinks he's just the greatest thing ever, and I'm not saying he's not, but you can't sit here and tell me that he was a Justin Herbert who started 4 years at a team and then came to this team and replicates the same thing. Like, there's nothing to replicate when you have 6 starts over 4 years.
Did you hear what Brock Purdy's nickname is? What George Kittle called him?
I did not.
Big Cock Brock.
Oh God. It makes me miss Nick Foles.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's all I know. That's all I know about football. I'm just glad that. Where did I go? So I need the over to hit tonight. It's 53.5. I had the over. And then who's my other? Who did I have as my underdog pick? Oh yeah, that's right, the Giants. Yeah, so I need the over to hit tonight to remain at 500 for the year, and my free play Friday bets.
I'm just looking up the head coaching positions in college football that have changed so far this year. We have Arizona State, Colorado, obviously, Wisconsin, which we've covered, Nebraska, Auburn. So, I mean, there's more, obviously, but this is what the article. There's Purdue this week, Louisville, a couple other minor programs. I saw that there was a FCS program or a division that was requesting to move up to make the 11th FBS program in college football that are comprised of a lot of teams from the Southwest, I believe. So that'd be kind of interesting to keep our eyes on. But Deion Sanders to Colorado. And, we talked about the transfer portal already, but Deion Sanders to Colorado and what that's going to bring. Is this man going to single-handedly save, the Pac-12?
He might, truly. The amount of money and attention that he's going to bring to even just Colorado alone is going to be huge.
I mean, you got all the players. I mean, he got a 5-star cornerback to go to Jackson State, which is insane.
It makes me even more disappointed that USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten because I know we talked about this in our really, really early episodes, but conference realignment is just such a bummer because I just loved the regionalness to it all.
Wisconsin might be on the back foot, per se. Also, I see that PJ Fleck got his 4th extension in 5 years, which is it is baffling to me, to a guy who's never won his division and never beaten Iowa. I really wish at times I was a college football head coach so that I could continually fail and still get extensions. And he's getting paid $6-7 million a year, if that makes you feel any better or worse about it.
But the last thing before we stop talking college, Caleb Williams won the Heisman.
Good for him. I think clear winner, in my opinion.
I think so too.
But I don't think they had the right people there, i.e. Stetson Bennett should not have been out on the stage.
No, he definitely shouldn't have. But that's what they like to do, just pick the quarterbacks from the best teams. But I do think they were guy one. The other question I wanted to have, and we don't have to go too far into this because we're over an hour and a half in, and I got to bounce soon. But do you think the A, the college football playoff 4 is the correct 4, and B, if you do you agree with the seeding?
So we touched on this last week with Garrett that I actually didn't even see that it came out before football had started on Sunday, so I missed it. I think they got the seeding wrong, if I'm being honest. I would have put TCU at 4, but they had the right 4 teams, in my opinion. So they
Do you,
had the correct combination, but I would have put TCU at 4 and then Michigan, Ohio State at 2 and 3.
do you think they did that to avoid an immediate rematch of Michigan Ohio State
100%.
solely?
I think they did that out of like, oh, we have to respect that tradition of that game. And like, I mean, maybe Michigan, but I don't care who you put against Georgia. Nobody's beating Georgia. So, you
Truly?
think Ohio State's beating Georgia?
No, I think Georgia's going to win, but if there's any team in the playoff that would be able to put up points and keep up with Georgia, I think it would be Ohio State. I think Georgia's going to win.
No.
I think it's going to be a Georgia-Michigan championship.
I actually
But
think Michigan's defense can rattle Georgia's offense. I genuinely think that, especially with McCockner or whatever the hell his name is, who had a leg injury and is no longer available. I think Georgia's offense has a good run game, good offensive line, and some unbelievable tight ends. But I think their receiving core is actually kind of on the weaker side. So if anything, I think Michigan could actually compete to an extent with Georgia. I actually
yeah,
would love to see a Georgia-Michigan matchup for the championship game, which is I
yeah,
think
so would I.
I think Michigan's gonna. Oh, well, let's just set the record straight. I think Michigan's gonna walk through TCU, and then I tend to think that Georgia's gonna walk through Ohio State based on Ohio State's one relevant game that they played during the season, which was against Michigan, and they got trounced. So I really don't think Ohio State's going to be able to hold a candle to Georgia, but I'm glad Bama didn't
We
make it.
we can get we can get into this more on like a bowl preview episode or something. But I was shocked to see that Georgia was only a 6.5 point favorite.
What?
Yep.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh my God! I
So we'll
that
we'll leave it
I
at
think
that.
Vegas thinks that's a trap game. I
I
mean,
think it is a
hell,
little bit.
Vikings were underdogs today, and that was a trap game. So, how much money did Vegas make on that? You think?
Not enough. Not enough. If I had a gambling budget that was unlimited, I would have put all of it on the Lions today. I picked the Lions in everything. I don't know why I felt so confident about it. I picked them in our picks. I picked them in my Free Play Friday. I picked him in my Pick'em League, and I assigned him one of the highest point values too. I don't know if I just hate the Vikings that much. That's probably truly what it is. I just, for some reason, I was like, Detroit's going to win this game.
Well, good on you. I'm glad you brought it to even on the season. Hope you keep that same energy the rest of the weeks for the season.
And the only thing that saved me from going 3-0 in our head-to-head matchups was Mitchell Trubisky throwing 3 interceptions today.
Yeah. I love the interception to Roquan Smith. I love a Mitchell Trubisky to Roquan Smith interception to bring him back to the good old days.
Worlds collide. I'm sure that's not the first time he's done that either. I'm sure there's plenty of
I'm
those
sure
in
he did that
practice.
18 times in practice, and Matt Nagy didn't do a single thing about it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we got for the week. If you have any fan questions you want to hear next week, shoot us a message. But thank you so much for listening and all of my dickheadness. We appreciate it, and we hope you have a lovely week of relaxation.